Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon-sponsored review time again, the penultimate of the original extravaganza from last year, and it's an interesting one. Alan Moore's Top 10. It's not a list, it's a nickname for the police precinct in the book, one populated by superheroes. To be accurate, almost everyone in the series is a superhero. Civilian, cop, etc. Top 10 is a sci-fi police procedural with the twist that almost everyone either has superpowers, has a fantastical origin, or has advanced tech skills in some capacity or another. The superheroes angle really is more of a window dressing for all the powers. I mean, there's no reason to have vigilantes in this society. It seems to just be more of a general fashion thing for people to have code names and occasionally stereotypical superhero costumes. It's otherwise a regular old cop drama, just with sci-fi and fantasy, with the classic cop show Hill Street Blues being the direct influence, according to Moore. And you've probably noticed the issue numbers thing in the title. Like with a few other reviews we've done before, the patron wanted the beginning, the ending, and 2 issues that had 2 interesting standalone stories that showed some of the bonkers ideas that the book could get into. This was billed to me as standalone issues while an ongoing narrative was happening, but that's not quite accurate in my opinion. Yes, there are points of view that are focused on in individual issues, but there are multiple ongoing narratives that persist throughout the series, so it's hard for me to call it standalone. It is a densely packed book and easy to get lost with all the names being thrown around. However, we're familiar with 2 names associated with this book. The first being Alan Moore, wizard, Watchmen creator, and hater of superheroes in the last couple of decades. Since this is normally a show for bad comics, we haven't covered a lot of his work. We saw him last time way back in 2019 with Youngblood Judgment Day, which we will not hold against him, especially since Judgment Day, while not great, is definitely a better story than most other Youngblood tales. And also, someone whom I don't know if we've seen very frequently, but an artist we have seen before, Gene Ha, who was the artist for Batman Fortunate Son. Punk is nothing but death, and crime, and the rage of a beast! And we will definitely not hold that against him, save for the fact that the art wasn't very good in that book. Top 10 is considerably better, though it has some issues we'll get into later. For now, though, let's dig into Top 10 issues 1, 4, 7, and 12.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man who punch sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Like with the Heroic Green Goblin series, when we jumped all around, I'll give a quick sum up of the intermediate issues to get you up to speed on what happened between them. Otherwise, we've got 4 issues to look at here, not gonna look at the covers. We open on a subway train in 1999. Everything is normal at first. Regular people getting on and off, normal mundane conversations, Eldritch Grandpa right there next to our lead character for this issue. But the last 2 panels suddenly show a bunch of costumed characters getting on the train and having those same kind of mundane conversations. Although there is something of the fantastical here. New see-through capes with the prism effect? All the other girls at school have one. I don't know, you're kinda young. I mean, people might see the back of your shirt. The character we're following is Robin Slinger, who has just arrived in Neapolis, a massive, futuristic city filled to the brim with people. To get a demonstration of how weird this place is, she hails a taxi, which looks like a race car, and the cabbie is revealed to be blind. Got Zen senses instead. I follow the car, you know. For some reason, the car keeps wanting to go swimming. Also, the car has a thirst for blood considering how many people we've run over. That joke is not inaccurate. He barely avoids hitting people as he goes, though he does get her to the precinct house as she requested. The book is filled with little nods and in-jokes to superhero stuff, some more overt than others. In this case, the precinct house's base structure is shaped like the Hall of Justice from DC. Also, we see this advertisement: Red K Cola, his secret weakness. The Cola Wars were a lot deadlier here than in our world. Cuba Cola still came out on top, though, as it should. Inside the station, Robin meets with Jackie Kowalski, who has a phasing power. She takes Robin to meet the police captain, Trainer, who is a former superhero himself. He knew Robin's dad when they worked together years ago. We also meet Sergeant Caesar, who is a dog. And I don't mean an anthropomorphic alien dog like, say, Doggy Kruger from Power Rangers SPD. No, he's literally a Doberman in an exosuit that allows him to walk around like a human. And the suit is not what allows him to talk to people. He can just do that. Makes it easier to say if he wants to go for walkies, I suppose. At the morning briefing, we're introduced to a few more characters. Irma, a woman in a tech suit full of weaponry. Dwayne Bodine, a cowboy with some high-tech weapons. Detective Corbeau, aka Synesthesia, who seems to be able to use the real-life condition synesthesia, where one sense causes another sense to be activated, tasting words, hearing colors, that sort of thing, to detect details in investigations. Detective Jackson, aka King Peacock, a follower of the Yazidi religion and has superhuman strength and combat abilities. Peter Cheney, aka Shock-Headed Pete, and his electrical powers. Sung Lee, aka Girl 1, a bioengineered woman with enhanced agility and the ability to manipulate her skin into multiple colors. And finally, her assigned partner, Jeff Smacks, a massively tall and muscular blue guy. Robin is awkward in her greeting, while Smacks is standoffish and dismissive. They head out in a patrol car to do the rounds. Neapolis is a pretty fantastic place, huh? I heard they put a lot of Nazi villains and mad scientists and stuff to work designing it after the war. Oh boy, if there's one place I'd like all the superheroes to be operating out of, it's the place built by Nazis and mad scientists. Well, I can't speak to the Nazi part, but I think you're vastly underestimating mad scientists as architects and engineers. Who else would have the greatest brilliance and imagination for designing buildings? Who else would have the genius to improve upon the failures of modern living? And they called us mad! Your latest invention was a McDonald's Happy Meal box that talked to you. And they call me crazy! That thing believed in phrenology! Smacks is not interested in small talk, and Robin is annoyed by his attitude. What did your last partner die of? They drown in charm or something? No, he got shot through the eye in his own apartment. His 8-year-old daughter found him when she got home from school. On the plus side, it meant she didn't have to tell him about her bad report card. She apologizes, but before they can say any more, they're summoned to a domestic dispute call. Okay, I'm Officer Smacks. This is Officer Slinger. Who can tell me what's happening here? It's the Incredibles on the second floor. Brad Bird stopped accepting their calls about when the third movie is coming out. They've got bills to pay, and now Helen and Bob just take it out on each other. The neighbor reports that her child, who has enhanced hearing, overheard the husband threaten to kill his wife Shirley. Hello, Mr. Incredible? My name is Smacks, and I'm a police officer. I'm afraid I need to ask you a few questions. That's Doctor! Dr. Incredible! I didn't pawn Dash's trophies to pay for medical school for people not to call me Doctor! Dr. Incredible, aka Trent, says that they don't need the police, but Shirley insists he's gone nuts. You'd think Smacks would force his way in just using brute strength. But no, he actually has a laser he fires from his chest that busts down the door. The door landed on Trent, whose body apparently is super flexible, and yeah, this is likely a parody of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, though in Shirley's case, her power is to transform into sand. She says he was choking her after refusing to go to counseling. Smacks takes Trent outside to talk to him, while Robin asks if she wants to press charges, but she says no, reminiscing about how Trent used to be very impressive back in the day. Outside, Robin tries to apologize to Smacks, but he says it's no big deal before they get another radio call. Synesthesia and King Peacock need their help with crowd control at the homicide they're investigating. They soon arrive at the scene, a small patch of grass and dirt with a corpse on it, and the two try to push back the crowd of onlooking people and robots. Synesthesia reports that the crowd is making it hard for her to get a reading on things, though Smacks is dealing with it. Still, since Smax is ignoring Robin, they invite her over. Is there something you need me for? Well, I doubt it. We just thought that dead guy here would probably be better company for you than Smax. Smells better, at least. The guy's body is messed up pretty bad, and the detectives think they should call in some guys to do a search, but Robin's got them covered, revealing a box with a bunch of tiny robots that crawl out to search the area. My dad made them back in the 60s. Government tried to take them from Dad, something about asbestos and nuclear material, so he gave them to me for safekeeping. Anyone else feel tingly all of a sudden? Thus Robin's alter ego name, Toybox. Peacock finds an ID for the guy, an odd vehicle license in that the victim's name was Stefan Grazik, and what looks like a Neapolis phone number written on a matchbook. Wait a second. Matchbooks don't have phones! They find some kind of high-tech flying saddle, what the license was for. Synesthesia says she could only read some distant Beethoven music from the corpse. As the body is sent to the morgue, she asks Robin about Smax and if he's giving her a hard time. She points out how he isn't friendly, especially after her remark about his partner. Smax was like that way before Stochastic Fats got killed. I dated Jeff. Touching him tasted like bitter ashes. Or grape jelly and mustard. After some more character interaction between Smax and Robin on their way back to the station, we see Dwayne and Pete arriving with 2 arrested prostitutes. More on that in a bit. Also being dragged in by Irma and Girl 1 is a big lizard guy named Ernesto Gogra. The 2 ladies inviting Robin to have some coffee with them after Ernesto gets booked. What did Ernesto do? He looks real mean. Yeah, you remember the original Gogra from the 50s? Ernesto's his son. He used to go by Gogzuki, if that helps. He was involved in a gang fight, but they actually pulled him in for parole violations. Irma exposits that Smax took his partner's death hard. He's invulnerable and, in his grief, demolished a bar by pulling the walls down on himself. Before they can talk more, Caesar recalls the women. They have a lead on the murdered man. The guy was a drug dealer, primarily sci-fi drugs like Amazo pills, mongoose blood, hyperdrine, China cat, of course. And they're gonna bust a drug warehouse that the phone number was attached to. His death could have been an accident from the hover saddle he had been riding, but it was just as likely to be that someone killed him on it. He usually partnered with a 14-year-old named Marta Wesson, so they're hoping to track her down in particular for more information. They surround the place, aided by their SWAT leader Bill Bailey, the Wolf Spider. And by SWAT team, I mean himself, because he has multiple arms. Don't forget to give him their legal warnings. Fair enough. Ahem. Hey, you in there! You're dead! Oh, they really are just like real cops. They bust in, the front team very quickly dealing with the drug dealers up front. At the back, Girl 1 deals with some of the dealers while Robin heads downstairs, finding a drug chemist that she's able to bring down. As Girl 1 gets downstairs, she's surprised to see that Robin took down Professor Gromolko, who quickly demands his lawyer. Unfortunately, while they've arrested all the dealers, they find nothing about Grazik or his murder. Synesthesia not even hearing the Beethoven music anywhere there. When they arrive back at the station, the prostitute's boss, Large Marge, has arrived to bail her girls out, but we'll get back to that later. Gromolko is brought in for interrogation. Apparently he has a history as a supervillain going all the way back to the 40s. Everyone wants to see the interrogation, including Dwayne, who also had taken him on before. His lawyer, a shark man, this is not like Caesar, who wears an exosuit, this guy is an evolved shark with human hands and feet, demands specific charges be brought up, but they're waiting for their special interrogator to arrive. And he does so. Glushko, a telepath. The lawyer says that telepathic testimony isn't admissible in court, but Gromolko starts panicking as the guy reads his mind, detecting that he knew Grazik and he was a double-crossing bastard who got what was coming to him. However, in his panic, Gromolko manages to take Dwayne's gun out of his holster and deliberately shoots himself in the head. Okay, let's not be too hasty, people. This is a world of superheroes and villains and extraordinary powers and abilities. Maybe he'll be back to life in a few minutes or in the next reboot. Robin is let go for the day, and Kowalski takes her for drinks at a nearby bar. She's a lesbian and hopes to hook up with Robin, but Robin admits that she isn't and has a man at home. Kowalski is fine with it, though when Robin goes home, we learn that what she actually meant was her father, who has Alzheimer's and she's taking care of him, ending the issue. So we're skipping ahead to issue 4, so here's what you need to know. The reason the prostitutes keep getting arrested is actually for their protection. There's a serial killer nicknamed Libra going around, decapitating them, and has been for some time. In issue 2, there's a traffic accident involving the Zen cabbie, as well as Ernesto, that gets both arrested. However, Robin recalls the cabbie and decides to use his powers to track down a lead. It works, allowing them to locate Gracik's young partner Marta. The shark lawyer intervenes to prevent her from being mind-read, but all that gets stopped by the arrival of the elder Gogra, who is in fact Godzilla-sized, which brings us to issue 4. As people flee from the giant drunk lizard demanding to see his imprisoned son, a woman walks past everyone to go into the police station. Gogra, this isn't exactly helping Ernesto's case. And anyway, aren't you under a restraint order that keeps you on Monster Atoll with Waspora and the rest?
None of those guys know how to drink. They're all just potheads.
Listen, just because Rodan likes to take an edible sometimes to flatten out a bit does not make them potheads. The woman who walked into the police station bumps into Caesar, saying she needs him to look after something. Namely, her severed finger, which she was carrying in a handkerchief before she collapses. Gogra's not doing so well in his drunken state, smashing into a building, vomiting radioactive waste. Still, Captain Trainer starts talking him down. Robin helps Caesar with the fainted woman, while Smax, overhearing that Gogra is there, steps outside to make a bad situation worse, taunting the monster.
Hey, that little blue bug. Is what's he called? The Smacks?
No, his actual name is Diggum Frog. I was as surprised as you are. Smax is ordered back inside as the precinct's pathologist, Micromaid, is summoned outside. She has a suit that allows her to shrink, and she can shrink other things as she uses her powers to bring Gogra down to action figure size. Oh sweet, that means he can play with the Atop the Fourth Wall action figures. Wave 2 coming soon. Micromaid goes back inside to examine the unconscious woman, stating that she's seen a cut as clean as the woman's finger before. With the immediate situation resolved, the shark lawyer is brought back to Marta Wesson for the detective's interrogation. He's got an affidavit that protects her from being telepathically scanned, but she's actually very keen on talking. Neither she nor the detectives really care about drug charges right now. She just knows that both her partner and Grimalco are dead, and she wants protection from whatever is going on. She doesn't know everything, but she does know that Graysick was told by Grimalco to deliver a very special and dangerous drug to a client. He wouldn't tell her what it was or who said client was, but did say that he'd make more money selling whatever it was himself, so they went into hiding. Look, Steph ripped off Grimalco, but it was only to get money from me. We were gonna get married! She's 14, and I think he was an adult. As you'll discover, statutory rape is kind of a recurring plot point in this story. While Synesthesia and King Peacock go back to the abandoned museum where they found her to try to locate the hidden drug, Robin and Smax are sent to a rave joint the two frequented to see if it got hidden there. Down in pathology, Micromaid reattaches the woman's finger and they check her ID. Her name is Annette Duval, aka Neuralnet, and Micromaid is pretty sure that her finger was cut off by Libra, given how similar it was to the beheaded prostitutes. Annette awakens, saying that the thing that attacked her came out of the drains. I don't like Alan Moore's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Investigating the abandoned museum, Synesthesia, King Peacock, and Glushko search until they find a hidden chamber where the two drug dealers had been living. They find a canister that Glushko quickly gets them to seal up and back off from it. It's a drug, all right, but it's radioactive, so they need someone to safely retrieve it. The other team head to the rave area, but it appears to be empty. Smax knows better, though, and fires a wide beam pulse from his chest laser, knocking down everyone who was in there. No, this wasn't a cloaking device, but rather they had all been taking the drug Mongoose Blood, which gave them super speed to the point that they couldn't be seen. Though apparently they weren't fast enough to duck. Just to show a little disregard for the rights of the people they're arresting for drug use, Smax blasts the DJ's equipment that was putting on a light and music show. Back at the station, Gogra and his son are getting let off without any charges on the condition that Ernesto brings his shrunken dad back to Monster Atoll before he returns to normal size. Ernesto is an idiot, so he continues to run his mouth before his dad tells him to knock it off. More importantly, Caesar interviews Annette. She's a prostitute as well, and some kind of creature came out of the drains to attack her, describing it as purple candy floss. She was able to escape because of her power to detect and zap nerves. While the thing managed to slice her finger off, she did attack all the creature's pain centers at once, forcing it to retreat. It seems to confirm that Libra isn't a customer, but rather some kind of alien attacking the prostitutes. She's willing to show the cops where it was as long as Caesar comes with them, since she trusts him. I mean, how could you not trust that good boy's face? They take the team members they can and head to the drain, the station reporting to them that they got a biotrace on Annette's wounds and have identified her attacker, a female from Antares, specifically a porn star and former superheroine named Mergla Qualtz. She's also telepathic, so that doesn't help. Like I said, though, they were able to capture the killer with the assistance of Large Marge and her girls.
Aha! You didn't count on my loyal army of prostitutes, did you?
We're jumping ahead to issue 7 next, so quick recap. They are indeed able to capture Murgla, and we learn more about her. This is apparently a part of her species' life cycle. They live for 800 years, but at the halfway point, they kind of go into hibernation and transform. She'll sleep for 10 years, but for 3 weeks every year, she'll wake up to feed. And said food is pinearin, aka the juices from the human pineal gland. By the by, pinearin appears to be something Alan Moore made up for this book. I kept trying to look up the word and found nothing. If I'm wrong, that's fine, but I'm just curious why I didn't just say she ate pineal glands. Same difference, really. We get some character development between Smax and Robin as they start to get along more, learning of an urban legend in the precinct house called The Rumor. They're called that because any weird sound or action within the place is attested to him, like a ghost. It also seems that one of the people taken at the rave was a teen idol, Glenn Garland, and they also found a trans-dimensional ticket. The precincts are actually all connected via parallel universes, so they plan on following up on that. A minor comedic subplot is introduced as well. Dwayne's mother's apartment is infested with ultra mice, basically superhero mice that are engaged in shenanigans that are wrecking her place. They hire an exterminator, who unleashes atom cats on them. Truly a disruptive force if ever there was one. After all, you see my cats constantly trying to distract you from watching me on this show. And we also get to meet Harry Lovelace, aka The Word, the precinct's hostage negotiator. He has the power of persuasion, getting people to do what he tells them to do. The trouble is, they're sometimes super literal about it, and he needs to be specific about who he tells to do what, since in a crowd, they'll all do what he says. As Smax and Robin leave the area of a psychokinetic who thinks he's Santa Claus and was causing a lot of damage, they come across the Norse goddess Freya. Just a regular Wednesday then. Who informs them that her son, Balder, has been murdered in the bar that the gods hang out in. This issue is definitely more on the standalone side, meant to be a bit of a comedy. There's still ongoing stuff happening, but despite the murder and all, this is meant to at least be more lighthearted than a lot of the other stuff going on. After Murgla tries to use her telepathy to be let out of her containment cell, we learn that the radioactive canister they found earlier was, in fact, a drug. Inside is a compressed mineral powder. Dissolve it in water and inject it. It's still radioactive, though. That can't be good. But yeah, Norse gods are hanging out at this bar and Balder has been murdered. Moore decided to use the less common names for the gods, but for simplicity's sake, I'll be referring to them as the ones most people probably know, like with Odin here. Eternity! Eternity and a day shall I hunt the slayers of my son, though not on Fridays. Fridays are for Pathfinder. Balder was the god of beauty, so Robin and Synesthesia are having a hard time not just staring at him. Tell the truth, just marking out the body, I started misting up. These guys have a real aura. Even the corpses are farming it. They fear moving the body would be sacrilege, so they decide to call in Micromaid to do an on-site examination. Truly, you cops are everywhere alike, one unto another. Why are you not smiting someone for this? Ugh, cops, am I right? Never murdering people indiscriminately like they should be. Thor and Smax get into an argument with each other while we learn some details about what happened from Zeus. Yeah, some other deities go to the bar too. Apparently the Norse gods were getting pretty rowdy and drunk, making a game of tossing objects at Balder. Micromaid gets inside of him and pulls out a lump of iron shaped like mistletoe, which they suspect is the murder weapon. Smax manages to blast Thor back after he waves his hammer at him. Synesthesia is not amused. What? What did I do? Violate his religious freedom to act like a big, drunk, ZZ Top-looking butthole? Smax, you know the captain has you on a caution already. Hold. Chastise not your warrior friend. Truly, my son Thor is a butthole, as you name him. I mean, we did joke that maybe instead of Thursday being derived from Thor's Day, it could have instead been Butthole Day. Freya explains the game, that she had made everything everywhere promise not to hurt Balder while throwing things at him, and when they show her the iron mistletoe, she realizes she forgot to ask that not to harm him. Turns out Batman Returns missed out on this. Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, but also if you use it as a baseball. They say it was Hoder who threw the mistletoe and that he's hiding in the bathroom. Smax collects him as he panic admits to having done the deed, feeling a crap ton of remorse, but then we learn that he was handed the mistletoe that was thrown by Loki. And while this is probably a somewhat accurate version of his appearance here, I don't know enough about it to look it up, I'm just staring at this like... You're on fire! Loki says he did it pretty much for laughs, and Odin, pissed about all this, threatens to declare Ragnarok to end the world. Back at the station, King Peacock tells Captain Trainer that he should look into the tickets they found with the radioactive powder, head to Grand Central as Grayzik had planned, and see what he can find. However, Trainer has bigger issues. As said, Murgla is a former superheroine, and her former teammates, the 7 Sentinels, are pissed at the murder accusations and have come to get her out. They go to see her, Murgla's life cycle change having apparently completed, and now she is a humanoid, and naked, woman in the cell, just outraging the Sentinels even more. I admit, I was kind of expecting this to turn out to be a telepathic illusion since she did the same thing earlier in the issue, but nope, she's just like this now. I guess Gene Ha or the other artist, Xander Cannon, decided they wanted to draw a naked green lady more. King Peacock arrives to help the others at the bar, but once he's brought up to speed on the situation, he laughs. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, it's just, well, gods are eternally recurring stories. The death of Baldur's been going on since before time, and it will happen again tomorrow.
That means lunch won't be till yesterday.
They ask Odin if Baldur has died before, and he reveals, yep, happens all the time. It is a constant worry to his mother and myself. You know he's a loving parent because he hasn't become jaded to the whole thing. Or maybe the funeral costs kept adding up and it was just easier to be mad about it. And indeed, Baldur soon gets up from the floor, and to celebrate his resurrection, they decide to play the throw things at Baldur game. This has been a complete waste of time. Let me get this straight. We're not busting anybody because they eternally murder people?
We hope you've enjoyed No Moral Theater, ladies and gentlemen.
The cops return to the precinct, where Annette shows up to thank Caesar for helping her during the Libra confrontation and all. She's sent down to where he's being fitted back in his exosuit. It got damaged during the fight, and she asks him out to dinner. The issue ends with everyone being pretty pleased with how the week went, despite them having failed to capture a guy who's been randomly assaulting women by grabbing their asses, which they thought they might have done earlier. It's a subplot I haven't mentioned until now because it's not really relevant, except it is played for comedy because I guess sexual harassment lol, am I right? Thanks, Alan. Anyway, we're skipping all the way to the end, so buckle up as I recap the remaining issues and major plot points leading up to it. While Murgla is continually given aid and lawyers by her 7 Sentinels pals, King Peacock is sent to Grand Central via interdimensional portal, leading to some background cameos and shots, including from Lost in Space, and SG-1 from Stargate. Even Teal'c seems confused about his presence here since he just says, "What?" I bet he's reading about how the Norse gods are actually gods here and not just gray aliens. However, when he arrives at Grand Central, a world where the Roman Empire never fell, he's told by the local authorities that he was sent to participate in gladiatorial combat as a representative of his precinct, despite his objections. He wins through, though he's not happy about it. With the Ultramice situation, things have escalated. Get enough science animals together, it's a big event. Next thing, it escalates. You get a whole secret crisis war crossover thing going. Inevitably, cosmic powers get involved. You know how it is. Still gotta be better than Secret Wars 2. Murgla asks to see Captain Trainer, saying that she's not going to enjoy freedom if she gets out. She's slightly precognitive and thinks she's going to be killed soon, quite possibly by her own friends. Trainer thinks it's ridiculous given how hard they're working to free her, but she tells him that it's likely they just don't want her to stand trial. She tells him that if she's killed, he should check her show reels and ask the chicken supers. I mean, given what we've seen of this world so far, I can totally believe that there is probably more than a single chicken-based superhero in this city. Glenn Garland, the teen idol I mentioned earlier, is found dead at a club. While they begin that investigation, there had been some build-up about an inspection by Police Commissioner Ultima. She's from the Roman world and seems disinterested in meeting any of the actual cops in the place, instead wanting to see the forensic science department. It's under lock and key because of the radioactive materials, so they have to go to the canteen to get the keys for it. Ultima becomes increasingly belligerent about getting there, and when synesthesia gets close to her, she can sense the Beethoven music, Ode to Joy, around Ultima. Since Joy is also the name of her perfume, synesthesia puts it together, trying to arrest Ultima for murdering Grayzik. Before Trainer, or herself, can defuse the situation, Ultima attacks, blasting everyone back and killing Girl 1. Honestly, it's not surprising that she snapped like this. She's jonesing for some radioactive smack. Turns out that's what this whole thing has been about. She's addicted to the radioactive drug, called Xenite, and the entire inspection was just so she could get to it. You'd think being the commissioner, she could have just ordered it sent to her facilities for a deeper examination, but then again, she's not exactly thinking rationally when she's a drug addict who wants that sweet, sweet cancer. She's extraordinarily powerful, able to go toe-to-toe with Smax without even breaking a sweat. The fight goes down into the holding cells, where Murgla is killed. Since she starts threatening to destroy Neapolis, Robin comes up with the idea of just giving her what she wants. Inject her with the damn drug so she's either pacified or ODs on it. Unfortunately, she's lucid enough after that to attack Robin, who ends up buried in rubble. She's kept alive thanks to, of all people, the Rumor, who partially reveals himself. Though in the hospital later, they suspect she was just hallucinating. In the aftermath, Girl One's replacement arrives. Joe Pye, a robot in the style of Japanese Super Robot series. He's given a bit of a cold reception at first because of how everyone liked Girl 1, but they start warming up to him, save for Pete, who's bigoted against robots, as he shows how good he is at his job and has an affable personality that lets him joke about himself as well as countering Pete's insults. Though using the R slur in the process because this was made in 2001. With all that resolved, they start looking into the Glenn Garland case. The boy band he was part of, Sidekicks, spelled with an X, because poor literacy is trademarkable, were indeed all former sidekicks themselves. They see that Garland was a sidekick to a member of the Seven Sentinels. Captain Trainer recalls Murgla's precog warning about her own death and what to do if anything happened to her. The chicken supers she referred to was a slang term for sexually available sidekicks, aka children. Thus, they make the connection that the Seven Sentinels might be involved in some kind of pedophile ring. The Epstein files did redact any mention of the Seven Sentinels. Glenn Garland had been threatening to do a tell-all story to the newspaper after his drug arrest, which made the connection that he might have been murdered to protect a bunch of pedophiles. And that brings us to the final issue. Examining the show reels as Murgla instructed, the cops noticed that all the heroic deeds ascribed to the Sentinels happened off-world, in places that would be difficult to verify their authenticity. Oh yeah, and more importantly, there's actual child sexual assault material mixed in with those reels provided by Murgla's agent.
Videotaping this crime spree is the best idea we ever had!
And it's also time to resolve the Ultra Mice thing. Dwayne's mother is back in her apartment and calls in Dwayne and Pete because some exterminator is there claiming that she owes him money. But none of them remember anything like that. And the apartment is fine. Yeah, it seems that the Secret Crisis crossover war resolved and the timeline got altered so it never happened. The exterminator is the only one who remembers. She owes me near on $2,000! Funny, that's how much these kinds of events end up draining from someone's wallet with all the tie-ins. He says the mice are pulling this kind of crap all the time and demands he get paid, even threatening them, but since none of them remember any of this happening, they think he's just some crazy guy and Pete zaps him unconscious to take to the station. Meanwhile, Joe Pye shows up to pick Irma up from work, though she's preoccupied having sex with her husband. Joe, being a decent guy, covers for her with the kids who want to know what all the weird noises were. Oh dear, Irma, I hope you haven't been overdoing those strenuous police exercises they make us do every morning. Sure, you want to be a better officer for your kids, but think of yourself for once. And I'm pretty sure Joe was originally invented for those strenuous police exercises, so he'd know. At the morning briefing at the station, Lieutenant Colby, aka Peregrine, she's been around, was a major player in one of the issues in a single-issue plot I didn't talk about, but hasn't played a huge role in any of the other stuff so far, so I haven't mentioned her yet. Lays out the facts. They're fairly certain that the Seven Sentinels had Glenn Garland murdered. Their reputation as heroes is entirely manufactured. The foes they fought either never existed, or were taken down by others and they just took credit for it. Their actual business was the pedophile ring. The teen sidekick team associated with them, the Young Sentinels, were a grooming operation. With the newsreel evidence, they have enough to take them down, and that's what the day is about. Handing out heavy weapons, since this is essentially a Justice League pastiche they're contending with. Written song lyrics follow a montage of the officers splitting up. I'd say it's the kind of thing tailor-made for a TV adaptation of the scene, but I know Alan Moore would sooner eat the book than see any of his work adapted these days. Sun Woman is taken out first, Peregrine slicing her across the face, and the next group reporting that Sun Woman was hurt. Apparently, Kathy cut her. in defense. We're in defense sounds good to me. Okay, this sounds like they're trying to cover for police brutality, but in the actual scene, Sun Woman was unsheathing a sword, so... what? At the Sentinel Spire, the Sentinel's headquarters, they use the words powers of persuasion to stop the Snapper car equivalent, Taps, who's the Sentinel's receptionist, to keep him from warning them of the cops' arrival. They run into Marta Wesson and another young girl there in towels, Marta apparently having joined the young Sentinels with her partner dead. She asks them to let the other girl go, and I'm just like, criminy, this book is both accurate to how this kind of thing sometimes goes down in real life, and yet we are all still supposed to like these people because we get this line. Read the diaper duo their rights, Harry. They are victims, literal friggin' children who are being assaulted and groomed, and you are arresting them for being desperate and afraid, and you're mocking them. Go to hell, comic. The 4 Sentinels are caught naked in a pool and arrested, one of whom was their lawyer, so they're not going to be in a good position for counsel at that moment. Dwayne and Pete go after the Batman equivalent, a bulldog-themed guy called the Hound. Pete continues to be oh so likable because he's having a hard time believing the heroes are so awful. Just look at this place. This guy's respectable. He's into old money. Pete, perhaps you should really stop and think about what a crappy defense. He's rich and comes from a rich family. They couldn't possibly have done anything wrong. Really is. Dwayne manages to take down the Hound after Pete is incapacitated by some water thrown in his face. King Peacock and Synesthesia bring in the young Sentinels for protective custody, but one of them manages to send out an ultrasonic frequency to Atom Man, the Superman equivalent. He locks up his fortress, the Fallout Shelter. So many people in franchises crossing over in this thing. Stargate, I saw the 4th Doctor and Fu Manchu at one point, and nobody has a Pip-Boy? So Irma and Joe Pye can't get into him. Irma also expresses her frustration that Atom Man's powers will let him live for 300 years, so it's entirely possible that he'll only spend 15 of them in jail for his crimes, and he'll probably go right back to it when he's out. These guys never stop. We ought to just... Oops. What did you do? With typical machine clumsiness, I seem to have disabled my inbuilt audio taping system. That means if, for instance, a fellow officer should suggest something illegal, I won't have a record of it. Well, typical machine clumsiness is why AI bullcrap has been screwing up so much of our lives, so it makes sense that it would also screw with due process. Smacks has been sent over to assist, and Joe Pye says that the building is likely made of impregnium, so they won't be able to get inside. Smacks tries anyway and fails, getting hit back by a reflected attack. Irma says she was serious about wanting to kill Atom Man, but Joe says that would mean she'd go to jail. He manages to hack into the intercom system and asks if Irma has ever heard of Asimov's laws of robotics. She hasn't, and it seems Joe has a way around them. He speaks to Atom Man, who wants to speak to his lawyer, but Joe points out that said lawyer has also been arrested for the same crimes. Speaking dispassionately, as a machine, perhaps you should review your options. If you stay in there forever, you may as well be in prison. Yeah, but I suspect he's got better toilet facilities in there. Joe explains that if he tries to fight his way out, they've got blue sound wave simulators that will temporarily rob him of his powers. Cyan sound waves remove them permanently.
Sound wave superior.
He then reminds Atom Man that he himself has a sealed Room of Sounds, basically his kryptonite equivalent, that can do various things to him. There's no way out of this situation with dignity, especially since he'll be robbed of his powers before being put in prison with his enemies, with him known as a child molester. But this is all actually to plant the idea in Atom Man's head, since one of the sounds can actually destroy him completely. Thus, Atom Man kills himself rather than be taken. There, problem solved. Yeah, Asimov really should have programmed in a law to prevent a robot from going KYS to someone. The Sentinels are all taken care of now, and the various cops go to their separate ways for the evening. Smacks goes to visit Robin in the hospital to ask her to come with him to his uncle's funeral when she's out since he wants some company, having to go back to his own world, leading into a mini-series where it turns out he has an incestuous relationship with his sister, and this is not considered weird between them, because between this and the Ultimate Universe at Marvel, things were apparently very weird in the 2000s comics-wise. And it's only gonna get weirder! Annette and Caesar have dinner together, and he admits that he'd like to pursue a relationship with her. He just wants to make sure it's not like a bestiality fetish for her. If this episode gets demonetized, you'll all know why. Did Hill Street Blues ever have someone wanting to date a dog? At least with this one, it's kind of a sci-fi thing, given that Caesar can, actually talk and think and give consent and all. But yeah, they're hooking up, but that's not the iffiest part of all this that we're ending on. Captain Traynor goes home to his boyfriend. Murgla had mentioned to Traynor that his homosexuality was a secret he was keeping, but it seems weird to me that that would be a big deal in this universe, given we're seeing a woman dating a dog. But yeah, maybe it's less that, but who his boyfriend is. A guy named Wolf, who we got together with back in World War II. Wolf was 24, and Traynor was 16. And so our comic ends with Traynor wondering if there was any difference between them and the Seven Sentinels, though they think the difference is that they legitimately loved each other, and still do. That's nice, still statutory rape, and still weird that the comic is implying that ultimately it doesn't matter because love. That is not a good attitude to have about all this, especially when you spent the whole rest of the issue decrying this stuff to the point where it suggested it would be best if one of the monsters who did this is better off dead than going through court. This comic it's a mixed bag. The confusing ethics of the last issue aside, it's essentially just a solid police procedural, but with superheroes and sci-fi and fantasy. None of the characters come out squeaky clean. There's something about all of them that makes them either complex or just grody enough that you're not sure if you want to like them or not. Except for maybe Robin, but then again, she's a rookie and hasn't had to do as much moral compromise or frustration like others in the precinct have had to. Also on the wince-inducing side is King Peacock. People kept referring to his religion as devil worship, he himself joking about it like that. But when I looked up the Yazidi religion, apparently it's considered insulting and offensive to say that to those who follow it, since it was apparently an assumption made by others about their beliefs, so I don't know if King Peacock should be ready to quip that he worships the devil. Moore is a solid writer when it comes to arcs and ongoing stories and stuff that makes you think, plus again, morally gray characters. But man, he has a real problem shying away from shock value stuff. Sure, it doesn't feel like it's intended to be shock value, unlike Mark Miller, who revels in it, but it still feels like he's skirting over the line more than he should. One issue I had with construction of the book is that it's busy. There's a ton of dialogue without much room to breathe, and Gene Ha's artwork is very detailed and cramming a ton of characters and background details into each panel. Like the dialogue, there is not a lot of room for the art to visually calm down. It's not bad per se, but it feels a bit overwhelming, which might be the idea, since the cops in the book are themselves constantly being run ragged by the situations presented before them. The crowded feeling is to the book's strength because it makes the place feel lived in and real with thousands and thousands of people having their own bizarre stories. It's just my problem with it is that it really is a lot to take in at first, especially reading it all at once like I did for the sake of this review. It was easier the second time through, but that's only because I knew what was going to happen, and thus I didn't feel as strange trying to pay as close attention. Still, Top 10 is not a bad series. It does what it intends to do as a superhero police book, and it was popular enough to get a Smack spin-off miniseries, a sequel miniseries, a prequel miniseries, and even another sequel series. That was never finished because it was apparently canceled halfway through due to low sales. Make of that what you will. Next time, the end of the extravaganza, even if not the end for Patreon-sponsored reviews. Prepare for Descent.
I'm sitting on my couch reviewing comics, the worst words that you will ever see. It's sad that comic book
I can't believe we didn't search the museum when we found Wes in there. Maybe I'll catch some more of that Beethoven music I sensed around Stefan Grayzik's body. Nope, got nothing. There's some Handel over here and Bach over there, but this is completely unrelated. Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Fourth Wall. Thanks for watching!